Thank you very much, Wangeshi. My name is Karumba Kinyua. I'm the managing partner of Pinehill Consulting, an investment risk and strategy consulting firm. I became an entrepreneur around 2015 when I left the corporate world to start Pinehill Consulting because of a couple of things. Firstly, I realized that the wealthy among us, and I was working for a very, very wealthy man. Unfortunately, he left us just slightly over a year or so ago, that they get good professional help. They have good investment bankers working for them, good banking relationships. They have people that are willing to pay millions if that's what's demanded, so that they can, in the big scheme of things, create bigger things. So I thought to extend the sort of advisory work that I used to do to probably the common person who can pay for such services at maybe a reduced cost. I think that's what I did. And then I have a passion for creation. And it started from me working abroad when I finished university, specifically in England for 1 year. And I realized that if we retire and we've not organized our affairs, we'll have a very long way ahead. For example, if you retire at 60 years and you live to be 90, you might have lived longer than the whole of your working life. How do you prepare for it so that you don't start to, really, desire not to live anymore, to live a good life? And indeed, and in fact, the book that I wrote, which I have a copy here, and unfortunately, we were not, the video did not come about. It's about that successful entrepreneurship that is creating jobs in the world as businesses that have been there for many generations. And us as maybe Africans mainly, because I spoke to a lot of Asian people, we've not learned how to do it very, very well. Mercedes is only big because it was founded many years ago. Colgate, all these brands we love to use, the Ford, and these are Walmart with over 1 million employees. It's not possible except now through technology to create companies that are global, out of taxes and employing our people and making a lot of wealthy within one generation. Yes, you can start, but by the time maybe you're 60, 70, you should leave a good platform for people to take over. So I like entrepreneurship, takes advantage of my skills. Because I like learning, I like doing different things, and it's something that I encourage many people to, so that they can create for others when they live. And to one of the colleagues in the fundraising scene, just like me, and he was telling me he doesn't touch anything below $1 billion. He raises 3, 4, 5 billion plus, because the same amount of work and effort required to raise 10 million, because I was raising 10 million for someone. He told me that I can't even talk. It's the same effort required to raise a lot of money. And he was of the opinion, like, if many of the Western funds don't invest anything less than $10 million, and that's about 1 billion. And if an idea is going to scale to Africa, at least, it needs to grow. The amount of opportunities in Africa is unprecedented because there are so many people coming here looking for opportunities. One of the reasons why I would never invest in DESI and those pyramid schemes, the moment they told me that we collect this money, invest in Europe, and give this sort of returns, I said, no, I had just finished my studies in London, and I know this is where everybody was very, very excited about. If you go to these investor conferences abroad, and say you are from Africa and Kenya, people leave, other people, and they come talk to you. They want to take your contacts. How can you help them execute on the idea? You also know that we have got over 4 trillion shillings lying in our Kenyan banks. Kenyans have a lot of money lying in banks in savings account that have not found a way to be activated to ideas that can grow. But I have to tell you, not many people are willing to professionalize the idea. Not many people are willing to pay a consultant to package the idea in a good way. There's something we call information memorandum. There's something we call a teaser. And every large investment, including what Mr. Kinoti, my senior colleague, has been working on. I've seen their teasers, they are very professionally done. Some of them, even I saw some of that work abroad. The colleague I met told me he spends $3,500 going to Europe to create a model for his business. So ideas needs to be packaged. It's not good to have a good idea. An idea needs to be packaged for the market and especially for banks in a proper way. There's also, of course, don't expose the crux of the idea, because we also know there are a lot of people here who've come, especially in the IT space, to try and fish for good ideas. Because for some reason we don't believe in our ideas, we don't believe we can create the next Amazon, the next Walmart, the next large company like Google. So ideas need to be packaged, because let's say if you are a doctor and you want to create a medical solution, that's your expertise. You need to speak the language of investors. The language of investors is IRL, it's about return. Yeah, myself, I've seen many people who tell me, oh, Karumba, just come, package my idea, get me a lot of money. Then I ask them, what is it in it for me? No, once we get the money, we'll talk. No, it takes time and effort and a certain skill to be able to relate to this very professional market. And I tell you what, if your documentation or your idea is not good, they won't even allow you any time of the day, because the people with money are seeing a lot of people. But if it's well packaged, there will be people queuing to invest in your idea and to support you. Yeah, that's my view, that yes, there is money. There are a lot of Kenyan entrepreneurs and angel networks looking for good opportunities. Many people with senior jobs that are looking at extra income. Yes, but then before I take the meeting back to you, one of the biggest challenges, because I do that, I do due diligence for diaspora people, is honesty. Don't embellish your idea. Don't say that in 4 years I'll have sold $100 billion. If you say that you've got a finance director, have them. If you say you have sales, pre-funding sales of 5 million, 2 million, let that be the truth. And our people need to know we only have one version of the truth. And investors don't mind if your idea fails or even it's not good, but they'll be very concerned if you're going to embellish the numbers, embellish your experience, embellish the number of offices that you have, the number of staff. The moment they can pick out that, you'll never get money and you get blacklisted by the investing community. But if you keep a man of your words, a woman of your words, even if you fail, they'll join you for your next venture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And, I was going to sort of go back to, when should entrepreneurs look for people such as yourself, right? What is considered the right stage to go for that big money and even on that packaging, and how do you determine whether that should be whether that financing should be equity financing or whether you're looking for debt financing? When should that happen? And
okay,
is the business supposed to be a certain size before that happens?
Thank you very much. I think many people don't understand is that today you can even raise 1 billion shillings. Yeah. So what investors do, they'll never write you a check of 1 billion. They feed you, they feed money into your business as you hit your milestones. So if somebody tells you I've raised 1 billion, the next moment they're not going to write you a check of 1 billion or 5 billion. So what then you do is that come up with a financial model with cash flow needs that show maybe the first year you only need 200-300 million, maybe to set up a plant. Let's say you are a healthcare innovator or entrepreneur, you want to set up a hospital. Then so to start, you may actually even need only 50 million to lay the grounds, get the right licenses out, and get a small team on board. And that's the same way I think Mr. Kinoti will tell you that they do construction project. Then they come, they see, yes, we've met this milestone. Then I need another 200 million to get the project to do what we call the shell, the outer building. Then you need money for finishing. Then you need money for equipping. Then you need money for staff. Then you need money for operations. That's how financing works. So when should you come? Then you should come as early as possible, because To be honest with you, we see also a lot of very bad ideas. The joke is made of somebody who had an idea of converting doors into badminton, playing tables. So, like right in the middle, you could tilt the door up, into a flat, into flat position and play badminton. But people did not think those doors were secure enough, and they wanted a venture to do that. So I tell you what, there are a lot of good ideas, but even if your idea is just very nascent, very new, we also help to shape somebody's idea to make it good. If you speak to somebody like our senior colleague, Mr. Kinoti, they have the experience, they have met the people, they can tell you this will never sell. Or this is a good idea, but change here, improve on this. And eventually, your idea sells. And then, because you do not need all the money at the same time, there's a lot of bootstrapping. What is called bootstrapping is where you struggle through the business, you put in your own money, your friends, and also your savings, so that your idea takes 10 years to mature. But you can't do that with projects, ideas that need huge capital and to scale very quickly. I was reading the story the other day of Safaricom raising money. In ideas where you're the first mover, you capture the market, you need a lot of marketing money to hire a huge team. So you need to come in early, we sharpen the idea. The disaster we see is that you want us to raise money within 6 weeks or 5 weeks. It takes between 1 year and 2 years to raise money. So you might as well come early. Investors don't like people who are rushing them. They have investment committees to approve the money. They can decline you. I just had an investor decline to invest last minute when they're almost signing the college because they say, unfortunately, something better came up. So come early, let's sharpen the idea, maybe even do a feasibility study. And by the way, that is something many people forget. It's good to do some sort of research. Is there a market for your product? If it's there, how big is it? If it's not very new, of course, we know there are some products that customers, the moment they see it, they will like it. But every successful entrepreneur likes to speak to customers, because in any case, if it's them you expect to buy the product, you better talk to them. When people in construction industry build, they take you to the show house. Is it small? How are the bedrooms? How are the washrooms? How is the kitchen? Particularly for those of you and us who spend a lot of time cooking. Yeah, sometimes you don't prove that idea. I also see entrepreneurs, as I finish, who say my idea will be stolen. So will it die if it doesn't get exposed to other people? Because I also feel there are other things that that we should talk about. I think
Sure.
there's no taking it away that entrepreneurship is demanding. And the reality is, we now know not everyone can become an entrepreneur. For example, if you're not hardworking, if you wait to be told what to do, if you can't stand risk, if you don't like people, entrepreneurship is the most generous thing anyone can do, because you have to work with staff, you have to pay people money who have given you money. So I want to say that today there are people who can test your ability to be an entrepreneur. Indeed, statistics show it's only 4% of entrepreneurs who succeed on a very large scale. So if you don't like risk, if you don't like working for long hours, if you're like what we say a 9 to 5 person, you're out of the door, you like leisure. Entrepreneurship is very demanding, and the reality is I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs who are very stressed. They can't pay their bills. It's okay to get employed. It's 100% okay to get employed, and many people have done fairly well getting employed. And the fact that you're an entrepreneur, honestly, doesn't mean you're more innovative or more creative than anyone else. It's just a calling for that time. And there are many entrepreneurs who work for some time, then go back to employment. And one person told me, you owe no one an explanation. If it's not working, go get a job, that will give you, as they say, insurance, a pension, and it allows you to strategize. I also want to pick a point Mr. Kinoti said. And entrepreneurship is also not for those who fear failure, because many successful people will tell you that you are one month away to failure. So if you find that failure will devastate you, especially if you've been brought up under a system where failure was highly punished. Entrepreneurship is not for you. One day, a check, somebody will not pay you, or a transaction will fail through. You need that ability to withstand those challenges. Then, of course, if you don't like being told what to do, it's also entrepreneurship is not for you. Conversely to that popular thinking, once you get investors, they have to tell you what to do. Your employees sometimes will tell you, boss, you are leading us to the ditch. Can we go this way? That perception that you're your own master, I don't like working for anyone, no one tells me anything. That's not for entrepreneurship. Because you have to be told by what to do. Sometimes you have to change your plans, and also as you work with customers, because customers are key. The other thing is entrepreneurship is not for those who don't like starting. I've seen people who go for one accelerator program to another. We call them studio accelerators. They go listen to everybody, every conference. They buy every book, including Mr. Kinotti's, and yet they never start. I normally say the miracle is in starting. You start, and then, as they say, you build your parachute as you come down. That ability to start is very important. And now, just to go back to your question, one of the things, maybe let me also add, entrepreneurship is also not for people who don't respect senior people. One of the reasons, as I wrote my book and researched heavily among the Asian community who have built some fairly successful intergenerational business, is that we are afraid of bringing strong people into our businesses. A finance director will tell you are wrong. Let's go this way. A marketing manager who you don't have to command, who is not a recent graduate, because those are the sort of people that make successful entrepreneurial activities like Equity Bank, for example, work. I normally say James Mwangi, who we respect very much, has a board of directors. People will tell him, sir, this is the way we are going, or this will not work. You must have people you listen to succeed. But I want to end this part of my contribution, and I talk about it very much in this book. I see a lot of distraction among entrepreneurs, where the moment you succeed, I'm sure Mr. Kinoti has been approached to become the next governor of his county in Meru or in Nairobi, we get distracted by politics. Honestly, and we have to say it here, especially as men, the moment we start to succeed, every girl in the office is our girlfriend. We get 3 or 4. That's a huge distraction among entrepreneurs. I've seen people who've been given 40 million, they went to build a flat in Kisumu, and then they start to dodge investors. So how do we avoid distraction? Number one, when you succeed in real estate, they tell you, my friend, you can also succeed in fishing. You can succeed in diplomacy. There's money to be made in energy. We never stick to the knitting. Of course, you can diversify, and it's not advised, but wait until your business is strong enough, you've put in strong managers, and you can go for 6 months or 6 months or 6 weeks without anyone calling you. So I talk about it here a lot because I saw when I interviewed people that if Mr. Kinoti is my supplier, he gets distracted by politics or another friend. We call them an away match instead of playing home games. What will happen to me with their customer? It's very depressing when the moment I pay my supplier money, they cannot supply because they are out campaigning. Where do we get distracted? There are people called to be politicians, there are people, but let's not get distracted. And also let's put in systems that will allow businesses to scale. Let me say something. Businesses like banks, they deal with money, yet they're able to scale. And I see people are afraid of scaling because people will steal from you, and you don't even deal with money. But banks have put in systems to allow them to grow to Rwanda, South Sudan, so that there is controls around money. People who are afraid to scale cannot build intergenerational business because a small idea cannot sustain the generations to come. Allow others to win with you. I'm seeing a lot of our businesses, it's only the CEO who is rich, the other staff are paupers. Also, they have shared in your dream, pay them well, let them also achieve their dream. Also get mentorship, my 3 things. That's one of the quickest way to achieve success. People who can speak to your vision, to your dream, and who can walk with you along the journey. But of course, when you engage our seniors like Mr. Kinoti, be respectful, pay him well. I know if he doesn't want the money, return back to you. But also we are seeing people, be my mentor, and yet they are not willing to pay. And paying is important, even if it's a business course, an accelerator course, so that you learn the skills of building the business. And finally, with the family, what I learned is that start early. The Asian entrepreneurs I spoke to, as early as 4 years and 5, they are bringing their children to business. They are trusting them with real responsibility. They are showing them a clear path for their growth and helping them to be disciplined. Many of them go abroad and get very good education, go work actually for other people. By the time they come back, they are building a business that even when they stop working, their children can protect their interests and give them money to live on when they can no longer actively work. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure to engage with entrepreneurs here.